Just over a week ago, LEGO released the official images for the second wave of the LEGO Batman movie collectible minifigure series. Overall, this series I'm pretty excited for. There are lots of characters in it that I'm looking to get, but the matter is, how do you find those characters? If you're like me, you'll stand in an aisle crinkling those packages for as long as it takes to find the characters that you're looking for. The problem is, how do you tell which character is which? You can't see inside the packages, so the only way you can tell is by feeling the packages for the parts. Now, each character, luckily enough in these series, each character has a unique part to that character, and those are the parts you want to look for. So today I'm going to tell you which parts you need to look for each character, and I'll just kind of give you a bit of my opinion on each character. So without further ado, here is a quick guide on how to identify each character in the LEGO Batman movie collectible minifigure series, Wave 2. Going in no particular order, let's start off with each Batman. But before I go any further, I should mention I don't know if these are the official names of the characters. The blog that I got my information from, which I'll link in the description below, this is what they call them, so I'll go with these names for now. As of when I recorded this, again, I don't know if these are the official names, but at least for now, this is what I'm calling them. So, once again, going on with each Batman. Overall, this guy, as far as the character goes, I'm not super interested in getting this one. There's a group of beach characters that I'm going off, or I'll be starting off with. None of them I'm super excited about. But Beach Batman, nothing in particular really excites me about him. The cowl, if I remember right, is not new. It was in the first wave with the Vacation Batman, I believe that's what he was called. It was included with that minifigure as well, so that piece is not new. The print itself, I mean, it's alright. It's kind of just like your basic kind of muscle, torso, and the legs do have that special bat bathing suit print, so that's really the only kind of exclusive print on this character. But when it comes to looking for parts, the main part you want to look for is, of course, the dolphin. That should actually make the package. It should be kind of an awkwardly shaped package, or it'll look like a fuller package, because this is quite a large part. The dolphin is a very easy part to identify, so that's the main part you want to look for. But you also can look for the preserver as well. That's another good part to identify him by. And the cowl could also work as well, because it does have the special goggles built into the cowl. So that could be another part you could look for. But the main part you want to look for this character is the dolphin. That is going to be the easiest part to identify him by, because nobody has any part like it. So that's the part you want to look for. If you're not sure, of course, then do look for the preserver or the cowl on top of the dolphin. Alright, up next we've got Beach Batgirl, and this minifigure is a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Nothing super special about her. The cowl and hairpiece are nothing new. The face print, as far as I could tell through a little bit of research, is exclusive, but it's nothing super special. The belt piece is by no means exclusive. The leg print, the dual mold, is nice, but no additional printing on it, which doesn't make it super, I guess, attractive. The dual molded arms are nice, but when it actually comes to the body print, while the print is exclusive, it's actually not, there's not a huge difference between this print and the regular Batgirl print, which I was a little surprised about, but there's not a huge difference there. And then really the only somewhat exclusive part is the surfboard. Surfboards are nothing new, but it is nice to get it in yellow. And then the logo kind of makes it hard to reuse it for other stuff, but it is nice to have it in that yellow shade. But overall, this minifigure, nothing super spectacular. When it comes to parts to find, the surfboard is again the big thing. This would be probably a pretty thin package compared to like the last one, but surfboard is the main part to look for. And then next would be the cowl, the belt if you need it to be. The belt wouldn't be too much of a help though. But again, just the main part to look for this character is the surfboard. Alright, next up is Beach Robin. Not too much of this minifigure actually attracts me to the minifigure. The only part that I really kind of like is the torso print with I would assume they're robins, but they kind of look like ducks almost all over the shirt. That print I do really like, but other than that, the minifigure isn't anything super spectacular. So I'm not going to go on about him very long. As you can kind of tell, like I said, the beach characters I'm not super excited for. But as far as this guy goes, for parts to find, Boombox is probably your best bet, because other than that, none of the other pieces are super easy to identify. Probably the only other piece I'd say that's really worth trying to find for just to double check would be the ice cream scoops. That'd be kind of a weird little shape to feel, but you could probably pick out at least I know I could pick out the round balls on the end there. But yeah, other than that, the only part of this minifigure that really attracts me to it is the torso, and parts to find are the boombox and ice cream scoops. Next up is Beach Alfred. Now, overall, I've never really been a huge fan of this Alfred design. So this one is really just kind of a miss for me. Nothing honestly super spectacular. for this character, well, it's nice to have the dual molded legs with the printing on them. This character just doesn't really appeal to me at all. Just almost looks like he's like in like a partial prison suit, to be honest. And yeah, like I said, Alfred, this design of him has never really I've never really been a huge fan of this design, and the parts that he comes with, there's nothing really, again, nothing super spectacular with him. As far as parts to look for, probably your best bet is really just the glass. Because there is another Alfred in this series, the hairpiece and the scarf really won't be much of a help, though you could look, if you find the glass and you want to double check, of course you can look for those parts as well, and maybe the cherries would be one last part you could look for. But yeah, really nothing super spectacular about this minifigure at all, no really special parts or anything like that, so this one I'm definitely not going to get, but you may have a different opinion, but that's just mine. Alright, we're almost done with the beach characters. The last one is Beach Joker, probably the most interesting out of all the beach characters. And while I'm probably not gonna get him, I may eventually get him if he's like one of the last few guys that I don't have. I may end up getting him. I'm still not quite sure about this guy, but overall he's definitely unique. He's got a lot of cool parts with him. He's got the rubber floaty, which do have had that piece before, like mentioned back to the Vacation Batman, but this one is in a different color and does have a bit of different printing to kind of fit the Joker's theme in that. Overall, this guy, the prints on this guy, as far as I can tell, are all exclusive. Like the legs, the shirt, and the face print are all exclusive. And he's got some nice parts with him as well. The camera piece, which is nothing new, but it's nice to get the camera and the green popsicle as well. When it comes to identifying this guy in the package, overall this should be a pretty large or full package, because there's a lot of parts in there, but best part I think to look for would be the floaty. It's very unique, or it's unique to this series, so that's probably the best part to look for. Another piece that would be good to look for would be his hair piece. It's actually he's the only Joker in this series, so it'd be easy to identify that part. And if you want to double check that it is him, if you're not 100% sure, you can also look for the camera and the popsicle. But overall, this guy, out of the beach characters, he's definitely the best. Doesn't really tickle my fancy, but definitely the best out of all of them. And it's got lots of unique parts, which make him pretty easy to identify. Alright, moving forward, we'll try to go through each character a little bit quicker here, starting with Black Canary. This is a character I'm so excited that we finally get in minifigure form. It's awesome to finally be able to get her and Green Arrow together. When it comes to the design and prints of that, it's very accurate for the character, which I'm so happy to see. No real complaints for this character, and to keep things short, we'll move on with the parts to look for. The main parts to look for are going to be actually the parts that make up the mic stand. There should be lots of little parts with this character, and other than that, the only other really unique part to look for would be her hair piece, because I don't believe anybody else in this series has a piece like that. Now, remember when I said I wasn't a huge fan of Alfred? Well, this is my one exception. This design I'm actually really excited for, and he is high on my list of characters to get. The Disco Alfred, or I believe it could also be called the Friends Are Family Alfred. The torso print is awesome. Just the overall prints on this guy are absolutely awesome. But when it comes to parts to look for this guy, it's really obvious. Just the guitar is the main identifying piece. It's pretty easy to identify a guitar in the packages, so that's really all you need to look for. If you want to be sure, you could look for the tie or the scarf or the hair piece as well, but the main thing you want to look for this guy is the guitar. Next up is Disco, or Friends Are Family, Harley. Well, I'm not as excited for her as I am for Alfred. She's still a pretty cool minifigure at that. Though I don't know if I'll be getting her. I'm for sure getting Alfred. Her, I'm not quite too sure about just yet. But for her, parts to identify are her hairpiece. It's a very unique piece, so that one will be easier to find. And the only other really main part to look for is the tutu. They're both pretty should be pretty easy parts to find, so those I think are your best bet for the character. But yeah, not as excited for her as I am for Alfred, but she's still overall a pretty cool minifigure. Moving on to probably one of the most unique characters in the series, next we have Mermaid Batman. And while personally I'm not super excited for this guy, I've heard a lot of people are, and he's definitely a very unique character. Definitely someone that I never really ever thought that we would get in minifigure form. In general, I never really thought I'd see Batman as a mermaid, so that pretty much explains my expectations. But for this guy, when it comes to parts to look for, the dolphin tail, the mermaid tail, is the obvious part to look for, as well as the trident. The trident would be pretty pointy, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. But yeah, the tail is probably the main part you want to look for, and it should be pretty large in the package, and should give the package a reasonably unusual shape. So that's something you should look out for when trying to find this character. Next is another very unique character. This character will either be known as Soccer Mom Batgirl or Batfan Batgirl. The name is still up in the air. But this is another character that is a very unique character. The prints on this character are very, very cool. From that aspect, I definitely appreciate this character. However, personally, this is another character that doesn't really tickle my fancy, but it's one that I can definitely appreciate for what it is. It's got some very unique parts in that, and when it comes to finding those parts, your best bet is definitely the hood. It's a very unique print, which I do think is very unique mold, pardon me. I think it's a very unique mold, and it's a very good mold at that, so I think it's definitely something that's going to be pretty easy to find. And other than that, you can also look out for the tiles and the belt as well. And while I won't be getting this minifigure, I can definitely appreciate it for what it is. Next is Apache Chief, and while the Apache Chief minifigure doesn't have any super special or super spectacular prints on this character, I'm super excited to get this character for the character that he is. I remember watching the old Super Friends cartoon, and this is one guy who wasn't on there a whole lot, but when he was really cool, so I'm super excited to get this guy. For parts for this guy, the main piece you want to look for is probably his hair piece. It's a unique, out of this series, it's definitely one of the more unique hair pieces. And then also when it comes to other parts, you can look for the tile piece as well. It's slightly longer than some of the other tile pieces, so it might be a little bit hard to identify at first, but it's definitely a lot longer, so that's something that'll make it a bit easier to identify this character. These next two I'm going to talk about together, and that is, of course, Zan and Jaina, the Wonder Twins. Now, these are another two characters that I'm really excited to get for the characters that they are. Again, watching the old Super Friends cartoon, I saw these guys a lot in that cartoon, and while they were a little bit goofy, they're fun. They were fun characters to watch, and I'm excited to get the two of them together. Now, the reason I'm talking about them together is because their minifigures are so similar, I can kind of knock out two birds with one stone here. So, for both of them parts you want to look for, you want to look for their hair pieces, because they are both similar pieces. So, if you find the hair piece, then you've got one of them. But how do you tell them apart? For Zan, who is the one on the left, you want to look for his bucket piece. That's a pretty unique piece that I'm actually looking forward to getting. I don't think I have a bucket, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to that. And for Jaina, the one on the right, you want to look for the two tile pieces, the record disc, the circular record, and the I'm guessing it's supposed to be the record cover that she's holding. So while they're both very similar characters, they do each have some unique pieces that will make them make it easier to tell the two characters apart. Next is General Zod. Overall, Zod is a very, very simple minifigure. Even down to the prints, they're very, very simple prints, but I don't have a General Zod, so I'm looking to get this guy. Again, for the character, this version is the version of Zod from the original live-action Superman movies, so that's pretty cool that they went with that design, considering they already have the Man of Steel version of Zod out there. But for identifying this character, because he's so simple, there's only really two parts that you can look for. That's the hair piece. Though that may be a little bit difficult, so you also want to look for the square tile newspaper piece that comes with him. But overall, yeah, very simple character. A little bit harder to identify, but one that I'll definitely be looking for. Moving to the other Kryptonian in this series, next we have JorEl, Superman's father. Now this guy in the movie had a very, very small part. He was in there for a brief second. You may remember that scene, may not, but he was in there for a brief second. And this is a guy, just another character that I'm looking to get for the character that he is. It's pretty cool to get a JorEl minifigure. And this guy's actually, I would say he's going to actually be a pretty easy character to find. Don't quote me on that, but I think he'll be pretty easy because he's got a lot of large pieces, and that should make his package actually quite full, quite large of a package. So that'll be a bit easier to identify him. So if you pick up a thin package, you shouldn't be expecting to find a JorEl. But specifically, if you do want to look for the parts in that, well, I mean, of course you do, but if you're looking for the parts, you want to look for the armor piece. I think it's going to be the easiest to identify, but you can also look for, I'll call it the dress piece, but you could argue it's a robe piece as well, but is what is used for his legs in this case, that piece. And if you're not 100% sure, even if you found both of those pieces and you're still not 100% sure, you could also look for the crystal as well to seal the deal that you have a JorEl. Next, we have one of my favorite characters in the entire series, Black Vulcan. This is another guy that, again, I watched in the original Super Friends cartoon. This is one guy that I loved whenever he was in the episode. He was a really, really cool guy, and I'm so excited to have the chance to get him in minifigure form. He's like probably, if not the highest, he's one of the highest characters on my list of characters to get. He's a pretty simple design character, but he looks so cool, and I'm so excited to try to get him. But for him, parts to identify, it's actually going to be, I would say, fairly easy to identify. The main parts you want to look for are those lightning blasts. There is another character that I'll talk about in a few minutes that has some similar pieces, but you can tell the difference between them. They're similar, but at the same time very different, so look for the lightning blast. And the only other piece that you can look for to identify him is his mask, or his mask or his cowl, whatever you want to call it. That is the only other piece that you can use to identify him, because he's a pretty simple character, but definitely high on my list of characters to get. Next up, we have Hugo Strange, and this is one character that I think is very accurate to the character, and this is something that I'm glad to see. He's not like a super complex character as far as design goes, but it's nice to see that they were fairly accurate in their portrayal. This guy, again, very simple, not too many parts that comes with him, but I think he's going to be pretty easy to identify, mainly because of the two beakers that he has. Those are always easy to pick out, and the fact that he's got two of them makes it even easier. But if you want to just triple check, you could also look for his beard piece as well, but I think the beakers are your best bet for this character. Next is Killer Moth, a character that I think that almost looks a little bit too goofy, at least in this minifigure form. This is a character that I'm probably not going to get, main reason being that I have the Killer Moth that was in the Scarecrow Harvest of Fear set. That version, I think, looks just a little bit better, and it's a little bit more serious, not as goofy as this guy. This guy still is cool, but he's kind of a mix of the Harvest of Fear version and the Mighty Micros Killer Moth, and it's maybe not the best mix, at least in my opinion. But when it comes to finding parts for this guy, the wings I think are going to be the easiest to identify on him, so the wings are probably your best bet. And next would be the blaster, as well as his helmet are also pieces that shouldn't be too hard to identify for this character. Alright, we're almost there. Next is Dr. Phosphorus. This is the guy that I was saying that you might get confused between him and Black Vulcan because of the flame pieces that he has. The flame pieces and the lightning pieces could be similar and could be easily mistaken as for the other. So this is the character that you might have a little bit of trouble of identifying who he is, whether it's Dr. Phosphorus or Black Vulcan. The main thing that if you can't tell between the two pieces, the only thing I can say is look for the headpiece. If you can find the cowl or the headpiece, that's what I'm talking about. If you can find that piece, then it's Black Vulcan, but if you can't find that piece, then chances are you have a Dr. Phosphorus. But my opinions on this character, this is a guy I'm going to get. He's another Batman villain that I think looks really cool. Very simple design, but just a really cool villain. My goal is I'm trying to get as many of the Batman villains as I can, so that's the main reason why I'm getting this guy. But yeah, so make sure you can find the flame pieces and no headpiece, then you have Dr. Phosphorus. Alright, last but not least, we have Clock King. And now this guy, his outfit, I'm not 100% sure about. It seems a little bit ridiculous. It almost looks like he's in like a giant onesie. But this is still a character that I'm gonna get, because like Dr. Phosphorus, he's another Batman villain, and I'm trying to get the Batman villains, so he's a guy I'm gonna get. Though his design, I don't know, he's a little bit of a kookier villain. So, I mean, I've got a few of them, so it'll just be another one to add to the collection. But when it comes to finding this guy, your best bet, I think, are the spears. They're going to be pretty easy to find, considering that there's two of them. They're going to be pretty easy to find. They're about the length of a package, so they're pretty easy to find. They're either going to be on the edges, they're going to be upright in the package, or they'll be on in the corners or something like that, on a diagonal in the corners and that. They should be pretty easy to find, and that'll make this guy pretty easy to identify. But you can also look for the circular headpiece, the clock head. It's like the gingerbread man headpiece, so it should be pretty easy to identify as well. So yeah, spears I think are your best bet to find Clock King. A bit of a kooky villain, but I'm still looking to get him. Hey, you made it through the video. Now I know that was a little bit longer than what I originally hoped it was, and probably what you were expecting, but hopefully that was helpful. Just kind of helping you narrow down your search when you're finding or looking for those parts. And if you're new at it, knowing what parts to look for definitely does help. But yeah, so once again, hopefully that helped. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you guys think about the minifigure series in the comments below. What guys you're looking to get, what guys you don't like, just your overall opinions. I'm interested to hear what everybody else has to say about these characters. You've heard my opinions, now I want to hear yours. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of stuff, we can have more of it coming out all the time. So feel free to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, once again, let me know what you think in the comments below. And yeah, so once again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.